high school basketball prospect Mikey Williams, who signed a deal with Excel that is expected to generate millions for the student athlete.
I got into basketball I probably started playing when I was like 4. Mm-hmm. My pops was a coach, so I was already around basketball and stuff all the time.
Faith, God, I'm stuck in a tough position, so I wasn't gonna get myself out of that. Neither was my lawyers or anybody else.
Mikey Williams was once seen as the future of basketball. Millions of followers, brand deals, viral highlights. This kid had it all before he even got his diploma. But then, in one shocking night, everything flipped upside down. 9 felony charges, the threat of decades behind bars, and a career that went from unstoppable to uncertain in an instant. How did one of America's brightest young stars lose it all so fast? Let's break down this wild rise and tragic collapse. Few basketball stories hit harder than Mikey Williams. A tale of hype, talent, and a fall that nobody saw coming. His path to greatness started early. Born into a family that lived and breathed sports. His father, Milan Williams, was a high school basketball standout at Sweetwater High, and his mom, Cherise, dominated on the diamond as a star catcher and outfielder at Hampton University. With genes like that and a household built on grind and discipline, it was almost like Mikey was made for the spotlight. By the time he was 4, Mikey was already dribbling, shooting, and showing flashes of something special. But it was in middle school when things got crazy. A viral dunk video in 7th grade turned him into an instant sensation, earning comparisons to a young LeBron James and sending his social media numbers through the roof. Millions followed his every move. The kid became a brand before he was even a man. But this rise wasn't just luck, it was strategy. Mikey's father saw the opportunity and moved smart, turning his son into both a baller and a business. At just 13 years old, Mikey made history when he signed a deal with And One, the legendary streetball brand, becoming the youngest athlete ever to land a major NIL deal.
I don't think it's the situation that happened. I think it was situations that I've been in before that could have been not so good. Because what happened is just God sat me down, you know what I'm saying? I was never convicted of doing anything.
Right.
Reports said it was worth 6 figures. A mind-blowing amount for a kid barely in his teens. It was official. Mikey Williams wasn't just a prodigy, he was the blueprint for a new kind of sports star. When Mikey Williams hit the court at San Ysidro High in 2019, the buzz was unreal. Expectations weren't just high, they were sky high. But even the wildest hype couldn't prepare anyone for the chaos this freshman was about to cause. He dropped jaw-dropping numbers: 29.9 points, 6.7 rebounds, 4.9 assists, and 1.6 steals per game. Straight domination. And just like that, he carried San Ysidro all the way to a CIF San Diego Division III championship. But one night, one legendary night, turned him into a California basketball myth forever. On December 13th, 2019, against Montgomery High, Mikey went nuclear. He dropped a mind-blowing 77 points, including 9 three-pointers, in a 116-52 blowout. That game shattered the San Diego County single-game scoring record of 71 points and sent fans, scouts, and even NBA stars into a frenzy. It wasn't just a performance, it was a moment. Social media exploded, clips went viral, and overnight, Mikey became the face of a new basketball generation.
That's sophomore year.
That was my freshman year.
Freshman year? Okay, freshman year.
Yeah.
To be that young with that many followers, was it hard for you?
Yeah, cause I didn't know what to do.
Awards started stacking up faster than he could hold them. Max Preps named him National Freshman of the Year. CIF crowned him San Diego Player of the Year. And he even landed on the All-State First Team. Colleges like Kansas, Duke, and North Carolina were already knocking on his door before he could even drive. The kid wasn't just a high school baller, he was a movement. But Mikey wasn't just building a stat sheet. He was building a brand. His social media presence became a masterclass in modern fame. Over time, sports even created a whole YouTube reality series around him, showcasing his life, grind, and swagger. The shy kid who once froze in front of cameras had turned into a natural-born entertainer, using charisma and confidence to control his own narrative. By the time Mikey Williams turned 17, he wasn't just a high school star. He was a brand. He inked a massive multi-year deal with Puma, becoming one of the first high school players ever to land a major sneaker endorsement.
I was young. I was probably in like 7th grade, 8th grade. So all I knew was basketball. Like, business didn't really exist to me yet, you feel me? So it all just happened really fast.
His own signature shoes and apparel line hit the streets. And suddenly, Mikey wasn't just playing ball, he was playing the business game. His NIL value skyrocketed to an estimated $3.6 million, boosted by NFT collections, NBA 2K22 commercials, and collabs with brands like Lace Clips and Cash App. The kid was everywhere. Billboards, YouTube, even gaming consoles. And the celebrity love? It was unreal. LeBron James shouted him out, Kevin Durant called him a must-watch, and Drake, featured him in music videos and on social media. The same kid who went viral for middle school dunks was now living like an NBA vet before he'd even played a college game. Private events, designer fits, celebrity hangouts. Mikey was deep in a world most pros spend years trying to reach. When it came to college recruiting, it wasn't even a contest. It was a celebration. In November 2022, he officially committed to Memphis, teaming up with Coach Penny Hardaway, a former NBA legend with a reputation for building stars. Scouts were losing their minds. Some had Mikey projected as a top 5 NBA draft pick. A flashy scoring guard with swagger and skill to match, he was seen as the next big thing. But fame like that doesn't come without cracks, and Mikey's perfect image started to show its first fractures.
But they say they didn't see Williams firing a gun. The San Diego County Sheriff's Department says people were arguing about guests inside the house where Williams lived. No one was hurt in the shooting. Williams is out of custody on $50,000 bail.
Behind the highlights and sponsorships, the pressure was relentless. The parties, the expectations, the constant attention, it all started to blur together. Away from the cameras, the young star began slipping into trouble, small moments that hinted at something darker brewing. Mikey even admitted later that there were situations before the main incident that could have been not so good, confessing he'd slipped up a few times, just being young. Original word count, 436. Rewritten word count, 491. The signs were flashing bright for anyone paying attention. Scouts had been whispering for months about Mikey's inconsistent effort, his growing entourage, and the dangerous distractions creeping into his world. Those red flags? They weren't random. They were warnings of a storm coming. And then it hit. March 27th, 2023. The night that split Mikey Williams' life into 2 chapters, before and after. At his $1.2 million home in Jamul, just east of San Diego, what should have been a calm Tuesday night turned into pure chaos. Reports say an argument broke out between Mikey and a group of uninvited guests who had shown up unexpectedly. Things went from tense to explosive, literally. Around midnight, as the group tried to leave in a Tesla Model 3 with 5 people inside, gunshots rang out. The car was struck multiple times, though somehow no one was injured. It was a miracle, but the damage to Mikey's life was already done. The same young man who'd built an image around focus, control, and discipline was now accused of losing it all in one terrifying moment. The headlines were everywhere. High school phenom involved in shooting. And suddenly, the kid once seen as basketball's next big thing became the center of a national scandal. What followed was like a real-life courtroom drama. Slow, brutal, and filled with twists. Every update seemed to make things worse, tearing down the image that had taken years to build. On April 13th, 2023, the story exploded again when Mikey was arrested by San Diego County Sheriff's deputies. The charges? 6 felonies, and the details were grim. He faced 3 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, 1 count of making criminal threats, and 2 counts of firing at an occupied vehicle. Each assault charge alone carried up to 9 years behind bars, meaning that if convicted, Mikey could have spent the best years of his athletic prime not under stadium lights, but behind prison bars. The once celebrated prodigy was now being talked about as a cautionary tale, a lesson in how fame without balance can destroy everything. The glow of sneaker deals and highlight reels had been replaced with mugshots and court dates, a brutal fall from grace for a teenager who once seemed untouchable. The basketball world couldn't believe it. Shock, disappointment, and straight-up disbelief flooded every corner of social media. Major outlets like Bleacher Report posted the news, racking up over 32,000 likes as fans tried to process how the golden boy of high school hoops had fallen so hard, so fast. People had watched this kid grow up online, and now they were watching his reputation unravel in real time. Commentators started comparing his downfall to Ja Morant's gun suspension, calling it the Ja Morant effect, and sparking debates about whether a pattern was forming among young black basketball stars caught in off-court chaos. The conversation got heated. Was it fame, pressure, or something deeper about the culture surrounding rising athletes? Whatever it was, the talk wasn't just about Mikey anymore. It was about the whole system. Meanwhile, over at Memphis, Coach Penny Hardaway, the man who had fought hard to recruit Williams, was suddenly stuck in a nightmare situation. His public statement was carefully worded. "We are aware of the situation and are gathering more information." But behind closed doors, reality hit hard. His top recruit, the future face of his program, might never even suit up. The legal process moved painfully slow, each hearing stretching the tension even tighter. Mikey pleaded not guilty, hoping to clear his name, but prosecutors weren't backing down. Not even close. By October 2023, the case took a dark turn during a crucial preliminary hearing. More evidence surfaced, and Judge Sherry M. Thompson Taylor ruled there was enough to move forward to trial. That decision opened the floodgates. Prosecutors added 3 more felony charges, bringing the total to 9. The new accusations were even heavier. More counts of making criminal threats, and even grand theft auto tied to the same night. Suddenly, Mikey's potential sentence ballooned to over 30 years in prison if convicted on all counts. 30 years. The same kid once projected as an NBA superstar was now staring at a future that looked more like a prison timeline than a draft lottery. The weight of it all started to crush him. Not just Mikey, but everyone around him. Friends, family, his whole circle felt the strain. In later interviews, he talked about the surreal feeling of sitting in court, barely able to speak, watching lawyers argue about his life while he sat there helpless. "It's crazy," he said, sitting there and realizing how fast everything can be taken from you. The fallout hit Mikey Williams like a wrecking ball. As soon as his legal problems went public, the business world turned its back fast. Ruthlessly fast. Puma, the same brand that once made him one of the youngest athletes ever to sign a sneaker deal, dropped him cold. The company cut ties, citing pending legal matters, and walking away from what had once been a groundbreaking partnership. Then came Lace Clips, another major sponsor, and their CEO, Jonathan Nussbaum, didn't mince words. He flat out said, "Williams is not someone we will associate with our brand." Brutal. The financial crash that followed was devastating. Mikey's $3.6 million NIL valuation, once one of the highest in amateur sports, nosedived overnight. The same brands that built him up were now sprinting in the opposite direction. The teenager who'd been living the dream, flying private, rocking custom fits, and signing autographs like a pro, suddenly found himself with nothing but legal bills and a tarnished name. Things only got worse at Memphis. After his arrest, the school suspended him indefinitely from all team activities. No practices, no games, nothing. The same program that had once celebrated his signing was now keeping its distance, protecting its image while Mikey was left sitting on the sidelines. He was forced to redshirt his entire freshman year, never touching the court for a single official minute. The message was clear. Until the court spoke, Memphis wouldn't. But the real pain wasn't just financial or professional. It was personal. The kid who once thrived under the bright lights now found himself completely isolated. The roar of packed gyms? Gone. The flood of comments and likes that used to fuel him? Silent. For someone who built his whole identity on connection, the quiet was suffocating. Mikey later admitted that he had deleted his Instagram multiple times, shutting himself off for months just to escape the pressure and judgment. He went from being one of the most talked about athletes online to barely being seen at all. The confidence, the swagger, the smile, it all faded. Public appearances became rare, and when he did show up, the weight of everything he'd lost hung heavy. Basketball, once his escape, now felt like a reminder of everything slipping away. By the summer and fall of 2023, Mikey was stuck in career limbo. Too young to go pro overseas, barred from playing college ball, and still facing the possibility of serious jail time, he was trapped. Meanwhile, his peers like Jared McCain and Rob Dillingham were shining on national stages, climbing toward the NBA, while Mikey's future was frozen in place. Watching from the sidelines, he could only imagine what might have been. Then came November 30th, 2023, the day that would finally shift everything. His long, painful legal saga reached a turning point at his plea hearing. After months of anxiety, uncertainty, and endless court dates, Mikey stood before the judge to face his reality. That moment marked both an ending and a beginning, the closing of his darkest chapter and the faint spark of a comeback. It wasn't redemption yet, but it was a chance to rebuild, refocus, and maybe, just maybe, find his way back to the game that once made him a star. Mikey Williams finally caught a break. After months of legal chaos and uncertainty, he reached a plea deal that would completely change the course of his future. He pleaded guilty to one felony count of making criminal threats under California Penal Code Section 422. And in exchange, the remaining 8 gun-related charges were dropped. It was a massive relief for a young man who had been staring down decades behind bars. The agreement showed that while his actions were serious, the court still saw a path to redemption, a shot at proving he could grow from his mistakes. Under the deal, Mikey had to complete anger management, cognitive behavioral therapy, gun safety classes, and put in 80 hours of community service. If he did everything right, the felony would eventually be reduced to a misdemeanor, a legal lifeline that could save his future. It was his chance to finally turn all that chaos into a comeback story. The basketball community loved it. Fans, players, and even sports media personalities celebrated the outcome, calling it a well-deserved second chance. Social media went wild. One post from Jam John, referencing the 3-to-1 comeback, racked up over 17,000 likes, framing Mikey's plea deal not as the end, but the rebirth of his story. The kid who once had it all was now being cheered on to rebuild and redeem himself. And Mikey didn't waste a second. He threw himself into the requirements of the plea deal with the same intensity he once brought to the court. By the time his August 12th, 2024 sentencing rolled around, he'd completed everything and then some. He went beyond the minimum, doing extra volunteer hours with youth programs, mentoring kids, and showing he wasn't just checking boxes. He was genuinely trying to make things right. When Judge Sherry M. Thompson Taylor appeared via virtual court from Florida, she officially reduced the felony to a misdemeanor and sentenced Mikey to 1 year of summary probation. The decision came with a 10-year ban on firearm possession, but most importantly, no jail time. For the first time in over a year, Mikey could breathe again. It was official. The comeback had begun. Still, the world he was re-entering wasn't the same as the one he left behind. By early 2024, even before the case wrapped up, Mikey had already entered the transfer portal, announcing plans to leave Memphis. The program that once hyped him up as their next star had moved on without him, leaving him to find a new path on his own. But this time, he wasn't the same kid chasing fame. He was older, wiser, and ready to rebuild his legacy from the ground up. So what do you think? Can Mikey Williams rise again and reclaim his spot in the game? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.